I think it's profile time.
Ooh.
Chaps, cast your little minds back to when we spoke to Dean Windass. Do you remember who he wanted inducted into his Hall of Fame?
Vinnie Samways.
It wasn't Vinnie Samways.
It's Paul Gascoigne.
It was Paul Gascoigne. That's who we've got.
Gazza!
Oh, this will be fun.
Yeah.
Paul
How long have we got? Lock the doors.
Blimey, well, where do we begin? Probably at the start. Paul John Gascoigne, born 27th of May, 1967.
Oh, summer of love!
And I don't think it's any coincidence that he was born just as it's beginning.
Yeah.
There's so much to talk about, but what we're going to do here, we are going to concentrate largely on the football and the banter, because, I mean, we can talk about all his demons off the field, but... You know, I think a lot of people, you know, you type in Paul Gascoigne into Google, and it's all about Gazza's drunk, Gazza's this, Gazza's that. I think, hang on a minute, the guy played some football.
It's a football show, let's remember the football.
Exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, that's what we're going to do. He was born in Gateshead, and he has been described as a sort of the archetypal sort of no-hoper made good by football. He caught the attention of the football scouts when he was playing for Gateshead Boys. He was given a trial at Ipswich Town, although he failed to impress there.
I think that was under Bobby Robson, actually.
Was it really?
Yeah, interesting start to their relationship together.
He had further trials at Middlesbrough and Southampton, but they proved unsuccessful, and I'm sure none of these clubs regret that.
No, yeah.
Before Newcastle United signed him as a schoolboy in 1980. At school, he was once caught practising his autograph during a geography lesson. His reason was that he said to the teacher that he was going to be a famous footballer, and his teacher at the time, who was Mr. Hepworth, he wasn't impressed, and he said to Gascoigne that only 1 in a million becomes a professional footballer.
Yeah.
So up his. He signed on as an apprentice at Newcastle in 1983. And that was when he got the nickname Gazza around that time. Jack Charlton was in charge of Newcastle. And Charlton said to him, he said, "There's a lot of fat there, but I'm told underneath you've got a bit of skill."
That's what they said to me. apart from the skill bit. They generally just stop at the fat bit. There's a bit of fat there.
Yeah, well, he was really... really on the button with Gascoigne. He said, he gave him a fortnight to get fit or get out, and he told a lot of the local sort of pie and chip shops to not serve him.
Yeah.
With all this, because he, he loved it, didn't he?
Yeah, it was like, but he did sort of. Gascoigne did say at one point that he realised as a youth player that to be one of the better youth players, he had to be stronger. So he did actually pile on the weight quite consciously.
Oh, right.
And work on weights and stuff like that.
And then sort of carried on doing that for years.
Well, he captained the youth team in the 84-85 season. They won the FA Youth Cup. He scored twice in the second leg against Watford.
That was the year that he told Chris Waddle to F off and clean his own boot.
That's right! He cleaned Chrissy Waddle's boot.
Or didn't.
Yeah.
Well, he's supposed to.
Yeah.
As he went through the Newcastle system, he was constantly picked on about his weight and his misbehaviour. And
I know how that feels.
Well, he got particularly annoyed at one point, and there was Pete, you might remember, there was a story about he jumped on a groundsman's tractor.
Yeah, he got 3 final warnings.
Did he?
At that club, but he mashed it into a changing room or
Did he?
at the training ground.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, he was so annoyed, he jumped on the tractor and he drove it into the dressing room wall and jumped off before impact.
I'll show you behaviour.
How old was he then? Like
he was
17?
fined £75 for that.
God.
But he made a total of 107 appearances for Newcastle. He scored 25 goals. And at the end of the 87-88 season, he was named Barclays Young Player of the Year.
People sort of forget that he played a lot of his football at Newcastle United, and everyone sort of was so much surprised when he turned in such a great performance in 1990. But at the end of the day, a lot of the Newcastle supporters were like, "Yeah, we've seen all that. We've seen it just because they weren't on telly half as much as Spurs."
Well, he bossed Man United for Newcastle, famous, didn't he? And Ferguson wanted him. Ferguson said, "I need to get you got to sign with this player." But he ended up going to Spurs.
He was all Brian Robson. He came up against.
But there was other players, not just him. Ferguson said he was one of the best midfield performances I've ever seen. He bossed him. He bossed what's his name? Remy Moses. Good player.
Ferguson had him pegged as replacing Robson when he left.
That's right. Yeah,
but the chairman at Spurs bought his family a house, didn't they? So he went to Spurs.
He did say to Ferguson, wasn't he, very famously, that he was going to sign for Man United. Then Ferguson went on holiday and came back to find he'd signed for Spurs.
There was a great bit back at Newcastle with Mirandina. He had a long running feud with this player, and he would only pass to him if he had loads of players around him.
Okay.
And people started catching on to this sort of thing, but they tried to bury the hatchet. He borrowed Mirandina's car and had a road race with it and smashed it into the wall.
I would never let Gascoigne my car.
And Mirandina went, Paul, do you know where my car is? 3 days later, and it was in a hedge. He hadn't talked to anyone about it.
Absolute loose cannon.
But straight away from the off, the incredible genius, incredible talent, and just the misdemeanours off the pitch.
Oh, the talent was definitely there. I mean, the thing about the World Cup 90 thing, which I'm sure you'll come on to, is he was still very young now. I mean, he was only just 23.
He was 23, yeah. Well, but just before the World Cup, a couple of years, as we say, he was signed for Spurs, and Alex Ferguson said it was the biggest disappointment of his managerial career was not getting Gazza.
Well, I think Ferguson, the general consensus is that Ferguson would have hopefully straightened him out. If anyone could have done it, would have been him, sort of thing.
He would have needed a real disciplinarian. I don't think he really had that.
Well, no,
any of his managers.
No, probably not.
Well, absolutely. So he went to Spurs, and in his first season at White Hart Lane, he helped Spurs to 6th in the First Division and 3rd the following season. And around this time, in September 1988, he was first called up to the England squad under Bobby Robson. And he scored his first goal for England in a World Cup qualifier against Albania. And people started saying, this guy's got to go to the World Cup. And I think he was actually, it was between a few guys. He was one of the later inclusions into the 1990 World Cup squad. But my goodness, did he stamp his mark on that tournament.
Yeah.
Obviously, England finished 4th. They got to the semi-final of the World Cup, and gentlemen, lots of things happened there.
Well, he's definitely up there with, in my opinion. It was the first tournament I really appreciated. And it's probably still my favourite now. He was definitely, along with Lothar Matthäus and probably one or two Italians, up there with the best midfielders in the whole tournament,
Well, he was included in the team of the tournament.
Right, well, there you go.
He was a game changer, I think that's what...
Oh, yeah, he was,
when he got on the ball, something would happen. And that's kind of why a lot of the clubs later in his career took chances on him, even when his legs had gone.
Yeah.
It's kind of...
But it was just great at Italian United to see on the world stage that England had a proper ball-playing central midfielder.
Yeah.
Like a kind of a... almost like a South American kind of number 10, you know what I mean?
Kind of the string sort of thing.
Exactly.
And having that sort of player in that tournament was very, very important because it was very low scoring, wasn't it? It was very, very tight. And for someone to be able to make that sort of bit of magic happen was very important.
And Gascoigne also, he knew how to keep the ball sometimes, just to hold possession.
He used to use his whole body in that sort of...
Yeah, very, very...
A lot of England players don't know sometimes. Just put your foot on the ball, calm it down,
They lose their heads. They all lose their heads.
Exactly, yeah. He before the tournament, the organisers of Italian ITV, they filmed each player mouthing their own name before the tournament, and so it would go. You'd see the picture of the tournament, and you'd see Lineker sort of mouthing Lineker and all the rest of it, and Gascoigne mouthed wanker instead. The BBC had to use it all the way through the tournament. Oh dear! And of course that yellow card against Germany and all the rest of it.
Tears all over. Probably my favourite ever England kit.
Certainly. But I remember Bobby Robson in a documentary saying that Gazza, he would find him playing, games of tennis in the midday sun on the day of the semi-finals, on the quarter-finals, and he would go mental. Bob, you're wasting your energy. What are you doing? Just so.
But he used to be up all night and stuff, didn't he? He used to have boundless energy. I think that someone speculated that he may have had lots of undiagnosed attention deficit disorder.
He's certainly been diagnosed with that now.
Certainly OCD as well. I think heavily.
That's right, yeah. Well, after the 1990 World Cup, which is when he became, a world superstar, really, he reached the FA Cup final with Spurs in the 1990-91 season, and he scored 6 goals on the road to the final, including that superb free kick against Arsenal
in the semi.
In the semi at Wembley.
Rubbish.
That was some hit, some distance as well.
A free kick it was.
It wasn't just outside the area; it was from a mile away
against David Seaman.
Yeah.
But of course, that's when he got the famous injury.
Kicking the flying bejesus out of
Gary Charles.
Yeah.
Gazza had actually the deal with Lazio had already gone through.